Welcome to the Plant-Based Morning Show, Tuesday edition, first day of our week in this new adjusted summer hours that we're doing. Happy birthday to my wife, Erin, frequent listener of the show. Not going to say how old she turns today. She might not want that, but you can probably guess. Anyway, that's what's going on in my world. We're back. Let's see. We had a weird week last week. We had to miss one of the shows because of terrible internet connection while I was in Kansas City. But we're back on track now. We'll be here Tuesday through Thursday, optionally Friday. Not really sure about that yet. But Tuesday through Thursday, you can count on for most of this summer, with the exception of the odd week here or there. Sorry, getting phone calls. So yeah, that is it. Doug, how's it going?
It's going great, Matt.
Yeah.
I'm just glad to be back. I'm glad to be back and actually see you. Last episode, couldn't see you, so it's good to be back. And happy birthday to Erin. Happy birthday to your wife. That's great.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, good to be back. What's up, Doug?
I was gonna, doesn't look a day over 23.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Yep, I agree. All right, so let's see. I was traveling. I'm back. My week was kind of fun. As far as food went, nothing too crazy. It was just travel food. We went to Whole Foods, got some things for the hotel, but it wasn't like one of those extended stay hotels where we could cook or anything like that. Plus, there was all kinds of goings on and things at the night with the parents. So we, went out plenty. So it was a lot of like pizza and just a couple of pasta things, but it wasn't a lot of healthy food. So eventually I succumbed to it wasn't really an urge. I just got really tired of eating all those carbohydrates. So I eventually got a Beyond Burger at one of these bars that had it, even though I'm trying to stay away from that stuff. And then that night we went to the Sporting KC soccer game, their professional team. And at that stadium, they had a vegan, it was called vegan hot sausage. So I got that. Turned out to be a Beyond sausage, which actually is a great product. I realized how good that is compared to others. But I only had half of that. Erin and I shared it. So I did have a little bit of fake meat, more than I have been trying to do, but otherwise, nothing too spectacular. I went to a couple barbecue places and got modified things. Once it was jackfruit, once it was smoked mushrooms with KC barbecue sauce on it.
What was better, the jackfruit or the mushrooms?
The smoked mushrooms were much better. I was kind of impressed with the jackfruit. I've never really been impressed at all with jackfruit. So it was surprisingly good. But it just didn't scratch the itch that you'd have when you go out for barbecue. But the smoked mushrooms really did a great job of that.
Good. Well, That's great. That sounds that I think if there's a time to indulge in a little plant meat, it's when you're traveling. I mean, really, it's any time. I mean, who am I kidding? But
yeah.
But I know that you've been on a non-plant meat kick, and if you're gonna have some while traveling, I think that makes plenty of sense to me.
Yeah, it's exactly. All right. Good morning to everyone. Mr. Jeffrey's here. He's excited that we're back. Mr. Jeffrey has like a new profile photo or something, which is cool. Jeff Hudnall has been here a lot recently. Maybe he's been here a lot all the time. I don't know. Seems like recently. Annie Amato. I don't know if I recognize her name, Doug. Do you know Annie? Hello, Annie. How's it going? She says happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, Annie.
Kate, Anne-Marie, and Me Time Plants. I think I remember the name Me Time Plants, but
yeah.
It's hard when there's just many fans. You can't know all of them.
Yeah, all 9 of them. I know. Let's see. All right. So I had a good weekend. Didn't do much in the way of cooking, honestly. So very little to report on the food front. It was just one of those weekends where you're like at home and juggling all the kid stuff, doing activity after activity. And then I got sick, which was a bummer. So I don't know. Not really nothing exciting to report. I was trying to think of some fun story to share about my weekend. You'd think after a 4-day weekend, I'd be able to do that, but alas, total fail.
It wasn't really a 4-day weekend though, right? It was just 4 days away from the show.
Yeah, 4 days away from the show. That's right.
Right. So yeah. So I mean, I guess it's excusable. You had a regular weekend. You got sick.
Typical weekend. Got sick.
Yeah.
I am feeling much better today though.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that. All right. Well, we've got a lot of meat news, plant meat news, like three fairly large newses, plus actually, and a fourth, because the Taco Bell Vegan Crunchwrap reviews are starting to trickle in.
Yes.
So we got that to get to. And then later, I want to get into this thing that I just started today, a digital detox. Doesn't sound like anything new. I know people do these kinds of things now and then. But during my trip, I drove to Kansas City and back. And driving back was a nightmare because Erin flew back so she could get home. And
you drove back by yourself?
Yeah. And I was hoping that I'd do it maybe in one day, just kind of crank it out. But that didn't happen because his last game ended up being a little bit later on Sunday. So I didn't leave Kansas City till like 2. And I knew there's no way I was getting 14 hours or whatever home from them. So I split it up into 2, which was really tough, 2 days yesterday and a terrible sleep in the middle. But I listened to like 4 or 5 audiobooks during the course of the trip. I put them on 2x speed and just listened to a lot of stuff and got really inspired, unexpectedly inspired about this digital minimalism thing. So I'm going to talk about that in a bit. But in the meantime, we'll get into the weather report and then come back. Sound machine is still missing. Is that?
Matt, you've had all this time to get your sound machine together.
It actually is missing now. I don't know where it is.
Oh no!
My daughter takes it now and then and watches shows on it and things. And I've been away from her for a week. I don't know if she left it at my dad's in Asheville. She's at basketball camp this morning, so I can't ask her. But it's MIA. We don't have the sound machine. No noise with the weather report. But anyway,
well,
here we go. We'll
do it. You got me. The weather report.
And be ready to pull up this one, the second one, Doug, here, so we can, watch the ad.
I'll get ready.
Okay. Here we go. Tuesday, June 13th, Plant-Based Morning Show weather report. Beyond Meat, I mentioned the Beyond Sausage a few minutes ago. I'd say that that's the best plant meat product there is right now. They're putting out a newest iteration of it. It has enhanced flavor profile, new aromatic blend of spices, including garlic powder, onion powder, and paprika. I assume on all 3 of the flavors, Brat Original, Hot Italian, and Sweet Italian. Those are the same 3 that have been out for a while. But they're making it better. And they say consumer testing has shown a strong preference for the newest version of what I said is already a great product. So you can go to the Beyond Meat store locator on their website, look for the new Meteor Taste icon on the package, but it seems like it's beginning today in a bunch of stores. Publix, maybe I saw Target, I don't know. But anyway, you can go to the thing, you can look for the Meteor Taste thing. So if you're getting those Beyond sausages, I'll be really curious to hear how that works out. All right, next up, Impossible Foods, the Beyond competitor, of course. Doug, you saying something there?
Yeah, I was just saying that I don't know. I like the Beyond sausage, so I'm excited about that. It's good. Good news.
Yeah, totally. All right, Impossible Foods, the competitor of Beyond, the main competitor of Beyond. They've got 2 new ad campaigns, one of which was aired during the 76th annual Tony Awards. I'm saying that nobody saw it probably then, because I don't know what that is or who watches that, or I mean, is that daytime TV, or do you know, Doug?
No, Tony is like Broadway theater awards and stuff like that, which makes sense for this campaign because
it was musical in nature.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. Okay. Well, that helps a little bit, I guess. But anyway, it was a 90-second commercial aired during the Tony Awards, and they want to familiarize consumers with the concept of plant-based meat and its benefits in a lighthearted, entertaining, and memorable way. The campaign is called Making Meat History, follows the history of meat through various eras. Anyway, so you'll see, or you'll hear in just a second when Doug plays it. They've got another campaign too called Summer of Impossible. That's just shorter form, nothing too special about those, but they're going to be putting out several ads apparently on that campaign. So can you run it, Doug? Run the reels or whatever they would say here. Play the tape. I don't know what's.
I'm gonna run it. I don't know if Instagram people will be able to hear it. So if you're on Instagram, go to YouTube, youtube.com/NoMeatAthlete, and that's where all the fun is happening. But we'll give it a go. Ready?
Yeah, I think if I mute, that's why I mute my mic. I forgot. Now I understand. I mute my mic so that the sound can go into the Instagram mic. So I'll do that.
Okay.
Meat. We have quite a long history together, don't we? But let's think back to our carnivorous fate. When since then, what a journey it's been. An incisor-orama parade of meat friends. The Huns love their mutton, Egyptians their pigeons. Even the Aztecs had deer in their kitchens.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it here. I think this is great because it's not like jamming down the plant-based anything. It's it's celebrating meat for the history of meat and diet and the role that it played in certain cultures. So already a fan, and a musical is gonna get automatically. You're like the lowest you can do if you're in a musical is like 7 out of 10 for me. So just that the baseline the baseline changes automatically. Okay, it's not playing on Instagram, by the way, so that part it didn't work. All right, here we go.
And now, as luck would have it, there's a brand new meat to decant from a delicious new animal called the plant. Meat from a plant?
That's so weird.
I'm offended.
Now hold up, friends. This meat can do all the things that meat can do too. It can sizzle and bleed.
Impossible.
Yes, I know. It can be hard to believe. This plant meat, when you eat it, it's the meatiest meat you ever meated. Though if you're someone who likes meat with a face, I assure you that can be arranged. So let's welcome this new meat, whose biggest difference is
Impossible is much better for the planet. It also has 0 milligrams of cholesterol and is packed with protein.
if you can't taste the difference, then hold up your buns. All the other meats agree this new meat's more fun. That's right. The new meat on the scene. Just stack it on your modern day grill. You'll be making meat history.
All right, 10 out of 10.
All right, there we have it. Apparently, I was muted during your analysis, Doug, so they didn't hear me what I said, which was basically that I agreed with Doug. Yeah, I mean, the major thing that I liked about it is the same thing you said. They without seeming like being preachy and all this, they immediately got in front of the objection that is people have been eating meat throughout history. Like why are we supposed to eat this fake stuff now? They acknowledged it and they even kind of glorified it by showing how these different peoples throughout time had eaten meat. And I think that's really good. It's like, instead of trying to say, no, we're not meant to eat meat, like it's unnatural, this is better. I just think it's so much better to instead do this. So I liked it for that reason. In the end, I don't know. Like, I guess when you've seen these other forms of meat and then suddenly they put in this newest form of meat, maybe it's supposed to seem like it's just logical part of the progression. They don't talk about how everything else is an animal and this one's a plant.
Yeah, well, I thought that was kind of interesting, and honestly, kind of, I'm sure is ruffling some feathers in the people who don't want to be able to call it meat, but like they call it meat. I mean, many times the meatiest meat you've ever meated.
Yeah, right.
There's no meatiest fake meat or plant meat or imitation meat or anything like that. Like they're calling it straight up meat. But they had the deer meat and the pigeon meat and then the plant meat, and I don't know. I just think like for a wide scale campaign that's not targeting vegans, I think this is brilliant. I like that approach a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just the point of these ads to me is, again, not for the vegans, like you just said. If you're just a meat eater and you've been eating these other kinds of meats and you see this, are you a little bit intrigued now? And like maybe not getting it the next time you see it, but another time after that, if another mention comes up or something, maybe you'll try it. And I think so. To me, there's nothing off-putting in this when you say, I don't like that. Like I'm staying away from that woke stuff and all that. I don't know. I think they do a nice job there. So way to go.
Even the line, if you like your meat to have a face, they're not like shaming people for liking meat to have a face. They said we can do that too. They put little googly eyes on the plant. I think that's hilarious. I think it's great.
Yeah, I do too. I think in general the attitude is the right one, and then they do get in the benefits, the facts about it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
How it is beneficial. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure that raises people's objections, and then they say, well, but what about this and this and it's ultra processed and all that. But I don't know. Good job. I think it was a good thing. Oatly should hope they're paying attention. How to do advertising in the plant-based food world, in my opinion.
And I mean, all right. So, like I said, if it's a musical, it's an automatic 7 out of 10 as the baseline. And then if you add googly eyes, which I'm a big fan of googly eyes too, I love a good googly eye. they just make everything funny. So that automatically gets a point too. So this is good. They really didn't have to do all that well with the advertisement to get a good score for me on this one.
Right.
Do you want
All
to
right.
do the short form one as well?
No, it's okay. We don't. There's nothing special about that. It's the burgers talking and one saying it has competition now from the plants or something. Anyway, so yeah, good job. I like it. All right, and then in less rosy news, this is a sad one. Meatless Farm, who to me is kind of like the third of the big players. I think that's just my perception. It's probably not true. But they advertised during Real Madrid soccer games. They put the banner up in the stadium, the electronic board thing, among all others. So you see it. It's you're over in the U.S. You're seeing an ad for meatless burgers on a game that's being piped in from Madrid. Made me think like, wow, this is big time. They are now in financial trouble. An investor pulled out who was going to make a multi-million-dollar investment, and they've stopped trading, which I guess means the stocks have stopped trading, and they've laid off their employees as they prepare for bankruptcy. So they've raised 40 million pounds in funding to date, but it seems like Meatless Farm will be no more. I only tried Meatless Farm I think once or twice. Saw it in Whole Foods, and it was fine. It was like the other ones, but that's a pretty big one. I think that's falling.
That is too bad. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So anyway, that then generated the usual media piling on about the death of plant-based meat and the usual responses from the plant-based community, like veg economists and people. I would imagine plant-based news is not too long till they do their version of the response to the piling on. So we'll see what happens there. But this is, I don't know. I'm kind of still on the side of this stuff's not going to last. That in the face of cultivated meat, this is going to go away.
Yeah, now that they're advertising in the Tonys, come on, this is great.
Right. Yeah, I'll be really concerned when Beyond or Impossible doesn't make it. When one of those two is done,
that would be a real turning point for sure.
Yeah. So
I mean, I bet that. So $40 million. I mean, that's a lot of money, but like
pounds. How many dollars in a pound? I don't know.
I mean, it's pretty up. I don't know right now, but it's not that far off.
$1.8 pounds. Not that far.
Like that's not really that much money. I bet that Impossible and Beyond have raised way more money than that.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I wonder if what is it? Meaty Foods? What is it called?
Meatless Farm.
Meatless Farm. Just appeared bigger than it actually was.
And maybe that was a problem. Maybe they spent money on massive advertising to appear like this big one, and then they should have been saving it to pay employees.
Yeah.
Again, Oatly, watch out. Stop with the ads. They're too much. They're crazy. All these crazy campaigns. We don't need a hotline to call in on Thanksgiving with all these jokes on it.
So on one side of my board is going to be the things you complain about. The other one is just going to be a running tally of every time you poke fun at Oatly. So.
I'm giving them financial advice from my position as a registered financial advisor.
No, you're not a registered financial advisor, Matt. You cannot say that.
That's true. All right. Okay, and then the last one related again to fake meat. The whole sweep here of the morning weather report by Fake Meat Products. The Taco Bell Crunchwrap reviews are in. By the way, did I mention this? I don't think so. There was a Taco Bell cantina.
Oh no, you missed Climax Food.
Oh yeah. So it's not even a sweep because this isn't plant meat. I missed Climax Foods. It's so what they've done is they've created the world's first casein the world's first non-dairy casein. We've seen non-dairy whey, animal-free whey. That's all over the place. My understanding, and it's not a complete understanding, but is that milk is basically whey and casein. That's sort of the two major components. I guess there's curds and whey. I don't know what curd. Maybe the curds are casein. But it's like that's the big thing when we talk about dairy identical cheeses and things like that. They're really not dairy identical because they're missing this whole other big protein, which is casein. Casein, of course, the one that was vilified in Forks Over Knives and others as like the cancer causing mechanism from all the China study research and stuff like that. I don't know whether that's right or not, but that's kind of the reputation it has. But when it comes to food, it's an important thing in cheeses. So they're pumped about that. And their CEO, Oliver Zahn, and founder, who is a Harvard-trained astrophysicist and an alum at both Google and SpaceX, so it sounds like he knows his stuff, and he's not one that's going to just make up stuff, says, quote, "This is one of the most important scientific breakthroughs in food in the last 6,000 years. But we're only getting started." So I guess whatever they're going to do is going to be one for the ages, one much more than that.
I mean, if it's up there with farming and industrial farming and
and like
Yeah.
food, keeping it clean and edible.
Food
and
safety, yeah, exactly. Refrigeration, if it's up there with refrigeration, then
is
man,
there.
this must
Yeah.
be huge.
I mean, this spans 10 times, I think, the amount of time since refrigeration's been around. So they're even longer. I mean, I think agriculture is in here. So this is a major thing. This
Wow.
precision fermentation of making of casein that they've done.
Wow, that's a big deal.
It is. All right, and finally, the vegan Crunchwrap reviews that came out last week in only 3 locations. I think it was New York, Chicago, and Orlando, maybe, or maybe LA. I don't know.
Yeah, LA, I think.
But it's only like 3 specific Taco Bells that has it. The reviews are in there. Bon Appetit has one, and so does some other one I've never heard of called the Cheapism, which is cheapism.com. Anyway, one of the people went to the Taco Bell Cantina. That's where they were able to get it, and they had one of those in Kansas City, and I kind of wanted to go to it. Did I mention this last week on the show? I don't think so. Maybe I was just talking to my wife.
What's the Taco Bell Cantina?
It's same Taco Bell food, but it's open kitchen, so you can see inside of it. I think it's set up a little bit more like a fast casual kind of place, like a Chipotle. Wow. And then you can order drinks and margaritas and all this other stuff. So they make it more of like a dining experience than the typical 4th meal drive-through situation.
I mean, is it more expensive? Is your like taco more expensive?
I don't know. I would guess not. I mean, it didn't change that much. I'm sure they're paying a little more in rent to do that, but they probably make their money on the alcohol sales. Really, maybe it's cheaper. Maybe it's a loss leader, and they just get you on the margaritas. So anyway, I kind of wanted to go, but I didn't. But I wish I would have. Anyway, so the one person from Bon Appetit, I think, went to the Cantina, and what they said about not the Cantina, but about the food itself was the headline. It kind of says it all. Taco Bell's new vegan Crunchwrap doesn't taste like meat, just like the original. So they're saying it's not great, but it's perfect. Fits right in at Taco Bell. And then and overall, that article's fairly positive review of the stuff. And then the other one from Cheapism, not quite as positive. Their headline is, "Sorry vegans, Taco Bell's plant-based Crunchwrap falls flat." At first, I thought this was like an anti-vegan person and they just wouldn't know. But then later they say, at the very end, they say, "For ethical and environmental reasons, plant-based food is the future. But Taco Bell's vegan Crunchwrap needs to head back to the food lab before it makes its nationwide debut." Okay. The thing is, though, that person also didn't like the regular Crunchwrap.
That person was hating on the regular Crunchwrap in the very first line. Can you trust that guy would suddenly like the vegan Crunchwrap? That makes no sense.
Right. You couldn't. I actually got a Crunchwrap 2 nights ago during my really long drive back from Kansas City. I get it fresco style. And so I looked at this picture. I was like, this does not look anything like the Crunchwrap I get. And of course, like I always forget that it has nacho cheese and the vegan one has this Blanco sauce, but like the white sour cream thing. So usually, I guess it is really a very, moist kind of thing inside that pocket, right? That would make the crunchy thing. Because if you let one sit for like 10 minutes and then bring it home, which I've done before for the kids or something, the shell inside, the tostada that is there, it's supposed to be crunchy. It's totally soft by the time you get it there because there's moisture in the thing. And that's in our version that it doesn't have these moist sauces in it. The Blanco sauce and the other one. So I can see how like the original actually would be kind of gross in many ways.
But it's very popular. I mean, like,
is it?
Obviously.
I actually don't know.
Well, I mean, I assume so if they're making a vegan version of it. Like, if they're going to do a vegan version of anything, it has to be one of their best sellers, right? And it's been around for a long time. So, I mean, I'm assuming that it's pretty popular. Yeah. Points out that the video someone posted in the Discord, which was the Ghetto Vegans review, they did a YouTube review. I haven't watched it, but apparently it's pretty funny. But they were disappointed that it was by the lack of plant meat. And I did watch a couple reviews, both from vegans and non-vegans, and they were pretty positive. So, it might just be one of those vegans excited about a vegan thing in a fast food chain, so they're going to be positive about it no matter what. But there was one non-vegan video that I saw, or Instagram thing that I saw, that just reviews fast food stuff, and they were very positive about it. Period. So it's good.
Well, both these reviews that I saw, I think mentioned, or maybe it was just the cheapest one, said not enough stuff. They said you need to put more of the meat in there and more of the cheesy stuff too, and also more seasonings and stuff on the meat. They just wanted more flavors. But both of the reviews said something about the cheese not seeming plasticky and fake. They said it really seemed identical to the other nacho cheese stuff they use in there, which already is probably already fake. That's probably it's not that hard to replicate. But still, I mean, I don't know. Just based on what I'm hearing, I think this is pretty good. So I hope it does make it all the way. It doesn't look to me better than the black bean one without all the stuff on it, honestly. I think I really, really do like getting the black bean without the stuff. So I don't know if it'll be an improvement on that or not, but something.
So
something
do you have to, you just say al fresco, or you like hit the al fresco button? You don't have
you just
to
say, you just say fresco style. Al fresco, I think means eating outside. So you wouldn't want to say that.
Oh. Maybe you can do that at the cantina.
You probably can. But you say fresco style. And for a while, they didn't know what that meant anymore. It's like they got rid of it and the new employees didn't know. Now, when I say it, they do know. And it comes up on the board when you order it. The digital board for your drive-thru order. So it's like they have it again now. And yes, it's a lot of them don't know, or like the person doesn't know. They'll have to ask someone else and then that person will know, it seems. But yeah, they removed the dairies and they add lettuce and tomato. Okay. So you gotta try, Doug.
I will. I just never think to go to Taco Bell. I don't know why. The Bon Appetit review. I appreciate this line. The fake meat. Okay. When I bit into the vegan Crunchwrap with the OG meaty version alongside as my control, the difference between the two was so genuinely difficult to discern. It was. The fake meat was, at worst, a bit saucier than the real meat, almost assuming a sloppy Joe-like texture. The real meat crumbled like, ground beef. So, I mean, that's pretty good. If you can't tell the difference between the two, like, even if it's not high quality. I mean, and that's the thing with these reviews is if you're not eating fast food stuff very often, then you probably are looking for something a little bit better than what they're going to give you. But, if that's what you're expecting, this kind of like sloppy, messy junk food thing, then yeah,
exactly. And that was a side-by-side situation, right? If it's not side-by-side situation, you'd probably say identical, no difference that you could tell.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope this makes it out to Nationwide. I'd be curious to try it once, probably. But good, glad it's happening.
Oh, now you're like rolling back what you.
What did I say? I'm not going to start eating this pea protein coconut oil thing.
I mean, last week you were super stoked about it. You're like, I would definitely try this if I had a chance. I
would try this. That's it.
Now you're like, I'd probably try it once.
No, that's all I've ever said about it. It'd be a good one-time thing.
I don't know about that.
It's just not going to beat the black bean one. I'm positive about that. It's just that it's too good and fresh and almost tastes like a health food. This is not. This is going to taste like that normal sloppy kind of foods where you can't taste one ingredient versus another. This is not my kind of food, Doug. You know that.
I mean, this is exactly my kind of food. So.
I know it is. I know. And that's all right.
Yeah.
All right. Good. So good news there. So lots of good news happening up here. I think with the 3 times a week shows, especially the Tuesday episode, there's just a lot better news and things to talk about instead of having to struggle to find stuff. Anyway, for the main thing today, I don't have a new article. I have my own personal digital detox challenge. So
okay,
the book that prompted all this was one called The Hacking of the American Mind by Robert Lustig. And the whole idea, I was reading it in research for the book that I'm thinking about writing. And it's all about dopamine versus serotonin and the two kinds of happiness, which we have talked about a little bit before. The book Flow by a guy whose name I can never remember, McCallie something. That's kind of the classic book that distinguishes between pleasure and contentment. Pleasure being the dopamine-driven, quick happiness that comes and goes, doesn't always leave you feeling happy, and contentment being the longer term, the fulfillment, the thing that like over time you look back, you're happy about, and you're sort of building over time it builds. Whereas, and that's serotonin driven. So I knew about that, but this book was all about how not just food, that was kind of most of it was about food, and beverage, alcohol, especially, just has hijacked this sort of situation to just keep providing pleasure, and even convincing people when in their advertising talking about happiness and implying you'll be happier, make yourself happy by going and getting Taco Bell or whatever. They're sort of conflating the terms there, and happiness, which is sort of this broader thing that encompasses these two things. They're just saying we're going to provide you with pleasure, and we're going to call that happiness. And you're not supposed to think about, well, this doesn't actually make me happy in the long term. And so the interesting point he made, and there's a bunch of interesting points, but the big one is that the pleasure stuff, the dopamine stuff, it is addictive. Maybe not highly addictive. Some of it certainly is, but some isn't. But it makes you want to keep having more of it. You have some, you get a fix, and then you want more. It's all designed to do that. Of course, we all know that about processed food, that it's just meant to do that kind of stuff. But then he gets into the digital stuff as well. And by the time I was done reading this book, you can't find anything in your life that isn't just, another dopamine hit. It's just a constant stream of this stuff. And the big point that really got me was he said, not just does the addiction that this stuff creates, not only does that, destroy the chances for long-term happiness, because addictions will tend to go to excess and then not leave room for anything else. But when the more of this pleasure, the more of this dopamine that's in your system, and I don't understand the biochemistry side of it much, but his point was that they basically crowd each other out. The more you have of one, the less room there is for the other. So if you're constantly getting dopamine hits all the time, the serotonin molecule is just not going to have a room in your system basically to be, whatever, absorbed or uptaken or whatever. So they're sort of competing. And I started thinking like, man, like if all I'm doing is going around, and I think I'm on the good side of this. I'm not really addicted to a whole lot of stuff and processed food and all that and digital. And it's like, I'm pretty good about it, but I still
You're addicted to sleep aids.
Yeah, right. Well, one of the things I got rid of in my detox is the Oura Ring. That's gone among others.
Okay, there you go.
So anyway, I wasn't expecting the digital side to really grab me very much, because like I said, kind of already thought of myself as not someone who has too many digital addictions and do much social media or anything. But it really did, and I read it and I was like, man, I want to have a different life than this the picture this thing is painting. Where my days are not just like run from one addiction to another, pick up the phone, swipe, check email, go eat this food, whatever. That's what I had the feeling that everything was like. So I said, I'm going to look more into this stuff. I went back and re-listened to a book called Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport, which I really like, in which he prescribes this 30-day detox, after which you then say, like, once you get rid of all these optional digital things for 30 days, then you move into this different phase where you start to reintroduce the ones that you really do think should have a place in your life because they enhance it and they don't lead you to addictions, and they're useful. And you mindfully put things back in. But for 30 days, you take anything that's not optional, you take it out. And that's what I'm doing starting today. Made my list, all my stuff, and I'm detox. I'm in the detox. I'm clean though for now.
So what are things on your list?
Here's what I got. I made this morning. I'll just run very quickly through it. And these aren't all horrible. These are every exhaustive list of screen type things that I do. YouTube, streaming shows, movie documentaries, email, Aura, audiobooks, podcasts, Kindle, video games, texting, maps, guitar, piano apps, Anki, which is a language thing, Glossica, which is another language thing, Twitter, Instagram, Slack, notes, like the notes thing on my phone rather than using a pen and paper, Amazon Music, WhatsApp, and like recipes. Like when I'm cooking a recipe, I'll put up my phone and then use it. That is almost everything that I can think of that I use a phone for. So it's not that much. And many of those things, probably half of them, I'd say like those are pretty good thing in my life. So they're not all permanently gone, but for now, a whole lot of them are gone. So I wrote down for each of those.
So you're telling me if I'm trying to get a hold of you, I shouldn't use Slack this week?
No, Slack is okay. No, this is just a list of things that I do. So Slack is not an optional one though. So that's my exhaustive.
Oh, I see. I gotcha. Okay.
Right. So the ones that are work related, we're not optional. So Slack is fine. That stays. Instagram in this case for this work situation, that stays, of course. I don't know, several others, but a bunch of them were like podcasts. Like I don't consider that a bad habit of mine, but it's definitely an optional digital thing. And this thing is constantly in your ear and doesn't allow you to have actual solitude. So that's out for now, for the month anyway. So
all shows, movies, any sort of TV time.
What I decided with that, like, I guess you could be really strict and you could say, I'm just not going to watch any of that stuff. What I said is documentaries, type of things where like I have on my list that I really want to get to watch that thing. And then I look back 2 days later and I'll say, I'm glad I made the time to watch that because I had been wanting to. I'm keeping that okay for this month. I could be more strict and say that's out too. But it's just so far from being a problem that I'm not doing that. I just kept that in.
Yeah.
But like shows are off, like watching The Office in bed or whatever. That shit cannot happen. Like that's more the addictive kind of behavior.
Well, I mean, I think this is great. It wasn't a full digital detox, but I did the social media detox, which for me was what was giving me all the dopamine hits on my phone anyway. I mean, and it significantly reduced the amount of screen time and phone time that I had when I did that. So I think this is great. I'm actually kind of inspired to maybe join you on this, but I have not read the book. So
Well, I mean, you don't need to read the book. It's inspiring for sure. And this is only part of it. The other part of this is, and kind of the point of this, uh, well, from in the digital minimalism thing, the point is not so much that this addiction, this dopamine thing is destroying lives. It's more that this stuff has just crept into the point where nobody has like a rich leisure life anymore. Like
Mhm.
and that for me is what kind of got to me the most. Like I was like, I don't know. I used to like always have all these sort of challenges and things I would want to do. And like, I'd be wanting to explore more, like always trying to get myself to get back to playing guitar or whatever. And in the past few years, I've just like written it off and I've just sort of like, well, there's not time for that anymore. Like I'm an adult. I'm busy. I got kids, the world. It's just busy now. And so I don't know. I've gotten to this idea that maybe like you can bring all that back. Like if maybe instead of not having any more time, it's just that too often you fill the gaps with little stuff. You go check your email, and I definitely I swipe my email for no reason, just like when I'm sitting on the couch to see if there's new email. And it's like I could be doing something actually useful during that time, but instead, you don't. These little things come in and fill the cracks in. So
Yeah.
the point is to also
like,
sort of
you never,
aggressively
like,
pursue that stuff again.
I never just sit outside and have my coffee or whatever without my phone being a part of that as
Right.
well, or whatever.
Yeah. So there's much more, and it's like once I don't know, like if he encouraged you to kind of put the phone in do not disturb mode, like texting is a huge thing that I'm not completely eliminating. Right, I'm not going to just stop texting people, but because I'm just not willing to, and it's not that big of a problem. But he's saying leave your phone in do not disturb mode. Let people know who matter, that like if they call twice or whatever, it'll break through that and they can have a phone conversation with you. So you're not trying to like isolate yourself, but he's just saying get to the point where like you don't need to have your phone with you. It's okay if you don't for a little while, or even a long time. And like put it in your glove box so that you have it if you need a maps or whatever, but like you don't need to have it out just always with you while you're driving or whatever. So I don't know. I think it's amazing how quickly that stuff has just taken over. So I'll be pretty excited to see what happens with getting rid of it all for a while.
Somebody I know has this box, and I'd be curious to know how it's working for her. She was trying it for a while, but it's this box that that you put in, and it will not, like, you cannot unlock it. You put your phone in it, it cannot unlock for however much time you set it for.
Right.
And so if you set it for like an hour or whatever, like there's no way around it. No way to override it. And you put your phone in there, and then like 2 hours later it unlocks and you can use it again. But I don't know. I thought that was, it's a little severe for me. Like I don't feel like I'm at the point where I don't have any self-control around it, but certainly a good way to disrupt your habit.
It is. Yeah. I mean, that would then make you eventually, especially if it's a long enough time period, or if you've done it repeated enough time, you truly do. Once it's in there, you just would hopefully just stop itching to get it back.
Yeah. Just forget about it.
Yeah, there's other stuff too that is, I mean, this book was not that new. I think it's probably 4 or 5 years old now. But he said in there that there was like the dumb phone was kind of coming back. And I'm guessing by now that's probably even more developed than it was then. That there are a lot of people who like, they buy a phone that does nothing and they can tether it to their line so that they can often just bring that out of the house if they're not going somewhere where they will imagine they will need their phone, whether that's for maps or an important message or whatever. You can go just have a phone that does calls. And I don't know, it'd be really nice, or even not to do that. Just like if you're going out, like if I'm going out with my wife for a night, like why do I bring my phone with me? Right? Definitely one of us should probably have it so that the babysitter could get in touch or whatever. Yeah. But like, why do we both need our phone? There's almost no reason that you would.
In case you want to send me a pic.
Yeah, I guess that's why. So I don't know. I'm excited about it. I feel like already this morning I was like, once I prepared for the show, like I had this extra hour and it was like, I just don't know, like, what do I usually do during this time? I eat some food, but I'm always just swiping through my phone during that time. And it was just weird to like be doing that and have this little bit of extra space where I don't know what to do. And I think that's the point, is to start to hopefully fill that don't know what to do space again with really quality work or hobbies and things like I mentioned. Like he says, you need to aggressively cultivate old hobbies, new hobbies, things that like, leisure time, quality leisure activity that takes some effort, but makes you happy.
I would encourage you to also not fill it. Just like be.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, like I think that I have a tendency, and I think that you probably do too, of like, all right, trying to, and the apps and like language learning and all that stuff comes in. You go for a walk and you want to learn a language, or you want to listen to a podcast or whatever. There's a lot of benefit to also just like being kind of mindlessly wandering and experiencing the world.
Definitely. And that's like the Anki is the app is a flashcard app for language learning. And that's the thing where if I'm standing in a line or stuck in traffic or whatever, you just start doing it. And I just like fill the time then with something that feels like it's productive. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I was debating. I was like, well, this is a useful thing. It helps me with the language learning. But I said, I'm going to get rid of that so that I am forced to like sometimes just have to be there. And I'm almost the same way with Amazon Music. Like if I go for a run, would it be a positive thing not to be able to listen to anything on that run? Is that a good thing? And I don't really know. I think it would make me not run. That's my concern with that. So I'm saying music is okay, but that's why podcasts are out.
Yeah, I still really quite like running with no input. And sometimes I'll even start a podcast. This happens all the time, very regularly. I'll like start with music or a podcast and then just turn it off, and run the rest of it without it. There's lots of comments here about the about do not disturb mode and how there's different settings you can do with that to let certain contacts in, like your emergency contacts or something like that. I've also noticed that if you're on an iPhone and the other person's on an iPhone and you send them a text, it tells you that they're on do not disturb, and it gives you the option to notify them anyway. Like I can choose to bypass it for you, which I mean is kind of a jerk move if unless it's a true emergency or something. But I think that's I've always appreciated that. Yeah,
definitely. Okay. Some people saying being bored is great. Aisha says she needs music to run, and that's kind of how I feel. But I also think like if that's the case, why do I really need that? Like there must be something to learn.
Do you really need it, or do you just think you need it?
Right. I mean, if you need it, then it means it would have been impossible for you to run 50 years ago when there were no portable music to do. You could not run.
Yeah.
So I don't know. All right. Mr. says, I'll listen when I'm road runner ingredients, but almost never listen. When I'm road running, but almost never listen to anything on trails. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I don't run trails very much, but when I do, I tend not to listen to anything because there's enough interesting stuff around. All right, good. Well, I will. I'll post this in Discord. Maybe some people will want to join me on this thing. But I'm starting today, 30 days, and then I'll gradually reintroduce. And I'll keep you posted. I'll let you know.
Somebody pointed out that Discord was not on your list. Might have been Anne-Marie.
That's a work thing. During work hours, I'll go in there. I don't usually get in there after work hours, so I'm fine with that. I'm work technology, and I guess you could apply this stuff to work and say my work has been overtaken by too much noise and alerts and all this stuff. You certainly probably should do that. But I don't know. Well, that's not
turn off all those alerts. If you're still getting alerts, Matt, if you're getting notifications when somebody sends you a message, then you got to stop that pronto.
I think that actually was my biggest thing. Like I don't really use Instagram like almost ever. I don't think my last post there was probably was December, I think, my birthday. But like I still have been just getting alerts when like it tells me someone else just posted something that I should go check out.
Oh, Matt, come on, dude, turn that off.
Right. And I just had a ton, and I had YouTube subscriptions that I didn't care about. People and I'd get that. I get Discord emails saying you missed messages in Discord, which like I just don't need because I still go in there. So anyway, that might be the biggest thing is my phone's just gonna stop buzzing because it has with as little as I actually consciously put much effort into, it has just been buzzing like crazy. So I'm excited for that.
I mean, man, that stuff is so easy to turn off. You should be turning all that off. I mean, you do you. Everybody should do their own thing, but I'm not gonna tell you what to do. But for me, that's been a very healthy thing.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I probably told this story. I may have even told it on the podcast, but I think it's funny, so I'm going to tell it again. When I did my social media detox, I was in such a habit of pulling out my phone and like checking stuff when I had a second to wait, and I deleted all the apps. And so the only app that like made any sense for me to click on was my bank app. And so I was like checking my bank account like multiple times a day, which I never open my bank account, unless I have to do some sort of banking. And it had the opposite of effect of a positive dopamine hit because I would look at it and be like, oh man.
Stress.
So I think it helped train me to not want to pull out my phone a little bit. At least
someone
temporarily.
in the book said that she started to know the weather in like 3 or 4 different cities. She like knew their hourly weather all the time because that was the only thing that was left for her to check and do.
Oh, that's funny.
It is. I mean, it's crazy that we've just willingly trained ourselves to have these compulsive habits. I mean, it's just so pervasive. Everyone has it. So it's a good thing to
all
be
right,
aware
so
of.
food gives you a dopamine hit, electronics, technology, obviously,
Alcohol.
alcohol. What about like a run or a workout? Is that dopamine or is that something else?
I'm pretty sure that's. I mean, you hear endorphins all the time, and I
Right.
have a feeling that that's more of the positive class. He did talk about runner's high and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
I think it has to do with serotonin, and he did get into some other nutritional stuff about serotonin. So no, I actually don't know about that. I'm not sure where exercise fits in
Cold
that.
plunge, all these things that we do to kind of like get a hit of something.
Yeah, and I think some of them probably do involve dopamine. And the point is not that dopamine is the enemy. His thing is like long-term happiness is about having a whole lot of serotonin and
Mhm.
this contentment. And you have sometimes dopamine things that are fun and interesting and exciting. Like that's where all the variety and like
Yeah.
spice of life sort of stuff comes in. So it's not that you shouldn't have dopamine pleasure. It's just
Right.
that it shouldn't be in problematic amounts.
Yeah, like going to see a band that you like or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
that
that.
could be a rush, right? Or
Uh-huh.
going on a skydiving or whatever. Like that
Yeah.
certainly is a dopamine sort of thing. Um, and it's not that
And
that's
then
bad,
not bad. Yeah. Uh-huh.
right? It's just when you get so used to it and it's like a drug and you just keep going back to it and then it becomes destructive in some way.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right, so that's it. That's what we got. Yeah, I'll keep you posted. Glad people were interested in this somewhat, and yeah, I'll post in Discord so everyone wants to join me or whatever. We can do that.
Cool. Sounds great.
All right. Sounds good. This was fun. We'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Normal week this week. Enjoy your Tuesday.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.